Good evening and welcome to the 7 o'clock evening news. I'm John Shelton. We begin with the main headlines. The National Assembly Speaker lauds efforts of the Interior Ministry in maintaining the security and stability of Kuwait. President of Syrian National Coalition affirms that Russia is focusing on preserving Syria's territorial integrity. China investigates the causes of two gigantic chemical explosions in Tianjin city that left at least 50 people dead. And the Greek Parliament approves a new bailout deal despite a rebellion by many MPs in the governing Syriza party. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent today a cable of condolences to His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain on the demise of Sheikh Isa bin Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Khalifa. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Naif Al Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah also sent a cable of condolences to His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa of the Kingdom of Bahrain on the demise of Sheikh Isa bin Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Khalifa. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mubarak Al Ahmed Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable of condolences. National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanim lauded the efforts of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah and the security forces in maintaining the security and stability of Kuwait following a major operation carried out as a part of a broader crackdown campaign on terror cells nationwide. Al Ghanim warned that the discovery of the new cell with a tremendous weapons and ammunition arsenal shows that Kuwait is still facing a real threat from the terrorist groups. The major successful blow came after uncovering a cell of terrorists included 29 suspected participants in the planning for the attack on Imam al-Sadiq Mosque. The Interior Ministry announced that the security forces broke up a dangerous terrorist cell and seized a huge amount of weapons and ammunition in a major operation carried out as a part of a broader crackdown campaign on terror cells nationwide. In a press statement, the Interior Ministry said a 3-member terror cell has been nabbed and a huge arsenal of weapons, ammunition and explosives has been seized. It added that security forces found 56 RPG shells and an amount of ammunition in a farm in Al Abdali owned by the first terrorist, identified as H.A., a Kuwaiti born in 1968. The statement added that 3 firearms and another amount of ammunition were found at the house of the second suspect, A.H., born in 1981, while 3 bags of weapons, ammunition and various explosive materials were seized from the house of the third, who was born in 1980. According to the ministry, the 3 confessed that they had joined a terrorist organisation and led the security forces to where the weapons and the explosives were hidden. In the farm and the 3 houses, the forces seized 19 tons of ammunition, 144 kilograms of TNT, PE4 and other explosive materials, 3 RPGs, 204 grenades and electric detonators. 3 terrorists have been referred to the concerned authorities for more interrogation. The Kuwait's National Library hosted the first youth forum of its kind, which came under the patronage of Ministry of State for Youth Affairs. The ministry is keen on activating the role of the Kuwaiti youth and their ideas that contribute to the development of their society in various fields through open dialogue channels. Eber Abdul Rahman has more in details in the following report.
Minister of State for Youth Affairs emphasized the importance of constructive dialogue and the development of capabilities and skills of young people to find the right environment in order to accept the opinion and the other opinion, asserting that positive dialogue teaches more culture, information, and free the human being from introversion and isolation. This idea was obvious during the opening of the first youth forum, which was held at the National Library of Kuwait under the slogan Dialogue Innovate Ideas, with the participation of a group of men of culture in Kuwait and the Gulf Cooperation Council.
Actually, today I participate in this initiative. It's to talk about discussion. It's about just exchanging thought, exchanging culture, how it's important for the youth, especially the youth, to discuss those ideas, to respect other ideas, to respect other thoughts regards, for example, and their values, their culture, their, it's important how to focus on this issue. Then I will speak about voluntary work, representing Kuwait Voluntary Work Center here, and I will focus on actually what is the voluntary work. Voluntary work, it's a wild different meaning. So we have to focus on the actual meaning of the voluntary work and how voluntary work will change the let's say the attitude of the human being and the youth guys, and how the voluntary work will give them the let's say the power to discuss, the power to describe, the power to express themselves and to have the initiative in this world.
The positive dialogue teaches people more culture, information, and lets them know how to exchange views and how to respect the views of the various means of social communication. The dialogue between youth has a great role in community development and stability, and the promotion of integrated national unity through open dialogue between young talents and refine the national dialogue and enlightened thinking process. Also, the dialogue frees men from introversion and isolation and opens channels of communication, which helps in acquiring more knowledge and awareness and good handling with others and accept criticism if any. From Kuwait's National Library, I am Heba Abdulrahman reporting for English News.
The leader of the main Syrian opposition group said that Russia is more concerned about Syria's territorial integrity than it is about protecting President Bashar al-Assad. Speaking a day after talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, President of the Syrian National Coalition, Khalid Koja, said that Russia's main focus was to avoid the collapse of the country's state structures, adding that he offered assurances that the National Coalition stands for preserving state institutions. Koja reaffirmed that al-Assad and his top lieutenants could be part of a transitional government. He added that the opposition and the Russians didn't discuss any candidates for the future interim authority, noting that his group and Moscow will continue consultations. Security sources said today that a Turkish soldier and 2 Kurdistan Workers' Party militants were killed in a spate of attacks in Turkey's southeast. The soldier was killed after a mine laid by militants was detonated remotely in the eastern province of Bingöl, while the 2 PKK fighters were killed during an operation in response to the attack. In a separate incident, youths linked to the outlawed PKK opened fire with rifles at a police vehicle in the town of Nusaybin, bordering Syria, wounding 2 policemen. Violence has surged in Turkey's southeast over the last month, with the PKK launching attacks against security forces and Ankara carrying out airstrikes on PKK camps in northern Iraq in what it called a synchronized war on terror. Israeli settlers and officers forced their way into the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in East Jerusalem, provoking Palestinian worshippers. This came following a series of escalating attacks on Palestinian civilians by armed Israeli paramilitary forces and the settlers. Our correspondent in Ramallah, Fatima Abdul Karim, has the details in the following report.
Series of incursions into Al-Aqsa Mosque compound through the Dung Gate to the west of the Holy Mosque under the cover of Israeli police. The raid series was secretive and unannounced. It took place in many but small groups.
اقتحامات للمسجد الأقصى تصاعدت بشكل لافت في الفترة الأخيرة واللافت في النظر أن
The incursions into Al-Aqsa Mosque have increased significantly lately, as rabbis are taking part in those incursions. The settler groups are encouraged to carry on with their raids by the Religious Institute on a daily basis in scores, and the escalation we are seeing today is a result of the Israeli incitement policy.
Palestinians say the provocation is a continuous and deliberate process, as they are subject to serious restrictions on accessing the old city and Al-Aqsa compound. Observers say the clashes between Palestinians and the Israeli army take place on a daily basis.
Not one day passes without clashes. They vary in intensity, but they take place daily. The worshippers inside the mosque include women, children, and the elderly. This daily practice is part of the Israeli policy to take over the Holy Mosque.
Although the Palestinian leadership seeks to employ international pressure to end settler violence, the settler escalation is continued and on the rise. Not only is it settler violence that needs to be stopped, but also the political cover provided to them which allows them to proceed with their crimes without accountability. Fatma Abdel Karim, State of Kuwait Television, Ramallah, Palestine.
Migrants fleeing conflicts in the Middle East and Africa are risking the crossing from Bodrum in Turkey to reach the shores of Greece, a gateway to Europe. Hundreds of migrants are believed to be piling into tiny inflatable dinghies each night and attempting to make the crossing, powered by tiny outboard motors and plastic paddles. Meanwhile, Europe's Migration Commissioner Dimitri Avramopoulos said a first disbursement of €30 million for Greece to deal with a high influx of migrants would be released as soon as the country sets up a management authority for the funds. The Commission earlier in the week approved a national funding programme for Greece amounting to €470 million.
To make progress on the Greek roadmap for asylum, I welcome their commitment to present shortly an effective plan to deal with the relocation of 16,000 people in clear need of international protection to other European Union's member states. We, the Commission, also commit to redoubling our efforts to cooperate with Turkey on the management of the crisis.
Pakistan's President Mamnoon Hussain today renewed an offer to arch-rival India to hold bilateral talks to resolve the issue of the disputed Kashmir region, among other outstanding matters between the two neighbours. In a televised speech marking his country's Independence Day, Hussain said that Pakistan believed in peaceful coexistence, though it would not compromise if its defence and security were under threat. The remarks came as the two countries traded heavy gunfire, killing one person and forcing villagers in divided Kashmir to flee to safety. The Pakistani military said that a Pakistani woman was killed and her two daughters and husband were wounded when an Indian mortar struck their home in the Nezapur sector of the divided region. Chinese authorities are continuing an investigation into what caused two gigantic explosions at a warehouse in a main port city, as locals expressed fears about the possible presence of dangerous chemicals near the site. Several small fires were still smouldering today at the site of the blasts, which occurred late Wednesday in a warehouse storing dangerous chemicals in a mostly industrial neighbourhood in the northeastern city of Tianjin. Officials said that at least 50 people were killed and about 700 others injured in the blasts. Earlier in the day, a small explosion occurred at the site of the two huge blasts, where authorities have publicly assured a sceptical public that the blasts have not contaminated the air, but have been relatively reticent about other concerns raised. In Greece, lawmakers approved their country's draft third bailout today after a nearly 24-hour marathon parliamentary procedure culminated in a vote that saw the government coalition suffer significant dissent. The rescue package would give Greece about €85 billion in loans over 3 years in exchange for harsh spending cuts and tax hikes. Although approved by a comfortable majority, the vote was a blow to Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras, who saw more than 40 of his 149 radical left Syriza party lawmakers vote against him. Meanwhile, Eurozone ministers were meeting in Brussels to discuss the draft agreement for the third bailout, with Eurogroup President Jeroen Dijsselbloem hoping for a positive outcome to be reached by the end of the evening. Marking the end of Kuwait's 28th pearl diving expedition, the Committee on Maritime Heritage of Kuwait Sea Sport Club held a ceremony welcoming the youths from Kuwait and other GCC countries who took part in the event. Nouran Al-Alfi was there and brought us this report.
In a lucky country like Kuwait, which owns a general natural source of livelihood and the governmental keenness on developing youth, Kuwait encouraged its young people last week to start bird diving voyages that would change their lifestyles by altering their activities as well as the way they get their spending. On the occasion of Yom al-Gifal, or the day of closing for Kuwait's 28th bird diving voyage, which represents a huge importance in reviving traditions of the sea and commemorates sacrifices of our forefathers to our country.
I'd like to thank His Highness the Emir, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, and for his support to the youth and to our sea heritage. At the same time, I'd like to thank the organizing committee, all the youth who participated. This season were very successful, where they dove for pearls, and they trained and rehearsed the life of diving with its hazards and difficulties. I'd like to congratulate the Sea Club for supporting the sea heritage and arts, and I hope this festival will be developed year by year. We were very proud and happy for the participation of our brothers from the GCC countries, from United Arab Emirates and Kingdom of Bahrain. Looking forward always to work together as one family, GCC family.
It's been a very hard trip, and I am very happy to be back.
Kuwait Sports Sea Club organized a celebration which marks the end of the 4-month-long traditional pre-oil discovery bird diving season in Kuwait.
In the sea, we have we have small children and boys. They cannot diving over than 5 meters. We have ear problems and wind, and also it was the weather so much hot.
In addition, the chairman of Kuwait Sports Sea Club said that the journey to commemorate the 28th anniversary of diving won limitless support from His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah.
I missed my brother too much because he was at the sea and he was getting out the pearls.
Nearly 200 divers and seamen take part in the journey on a 12-ship flotilla conducted by His Highness the Emir.
The weather here is very strong air, and it's very hot in the night, and it's very wet. And I do this exercise from 7 years ago.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman Sabah Al-Salim Al-Hamoud Al-Sabah, quoted His Highness the Emir greetings to the divers and his appreciation of the important messages that the cultural and historical activity represents. Young bird divers couldn't express more than their happiness for reaching Kuwait back, as they forget all the problems, obstacles and hardships they faced inside the sea as soon as they saw their families. From Sports Sea Club, I am Nouran Al-Alfi reporting Bulletin News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. That's all the news for now, but you can join us again for the news brief at 11 p.m. Before we end, here is a quick reminder of today's headlines. The National Assembly Speaker lauds efforts of the Interior Ministry in maintaining the security and stability of Kuwait. President of Syrian National Coalition affirms that Russia is focusing on preserving Syria's territorial integrity. China investigates the causes of 2 gigantic chemical explosions in Tianjin city that left at least 50 people dead. And the Greek Parliament approves a new bailout deal despite a rebellion by many MPs in the governing Syriza party.